in early 2017, Trump issued a series of executive orders attempting to slow migration from Islamic-majority countries and cracking down on undocumented immigrants from Latin America. In a March 2017 television interview, Trump supporter Steve King, a member of Congress from Iowa, argued that Western civilization itself was defined as every place where the footprint of Christianity settled the world. King went on to defend the Trump administration's restrictive immigration policies, later writing that, "We can't restore our civilization with somebody else's babies." For King and other Christians who sympathized with him, Northern Europe and North America, what they called Western civilization, had been uniquely blessed with Protestant Christianity and hence with free democratic government. To these Christians, Trump's personal behavior paled next to his willingness to defend Christian civilization, which they understood to be closely identified with the West. Latin America, which to King was neither white nor Protestant, and the Muslim world neither white nor Christian, stood outside those categories. In the 1980s and 1990s, conservative Christians who identified with these values had formed lobbying groups like the Christian Coalition and the Moral Majority, and had achieved a series of triumphs, gaining the ear of presidents and fueling Ronald Reagan's 2 elections as president and the Republican Party's takeover of Congress in the 1994 elections. The impressive organizational successes of these groups aside, perhaps the movement's most enduring accomplishment was to shape what Americans thought of when they thought of Christianity. This rhetorical revolution was a conscious effort. Leaders of the religious right worked hard and ceaselessly to define Christianity in their own image. In August 1980, some 15,000 evangelicals gathered to hear Reagan, then a candidate for president, speak at the National Affairs Briefing, a forum organized to allow conservative evangelical Christians to express political opinions. Before the candidate spoke, the televangelist James Robison drew as clear boundaries around what was and was not Christian as King had. "I'm sick and tired of hearing about all of the radicals and the perverts and the liberals and the leftists and the communists coming out of the closet. It's time for God's people to come out of the closet," Robison declared, arguing that Christians were by definition not members of any of the groups listed in his first sentence. He and his allies dismissed welfare programs, the sexual revolution, crime, and Carter's policies on the family as manifestations of secular humanism. Defining such things as secular and therefore not Christian allowed Robison to assert that they had no place in the United States, just as King invoked Christianity as a reason to restrict immigration. Robison's and King's insistence that Christianity was synonymous with cultural conservatism and ethno-nationalism was not inevitable. Rather, it has a historical genealogy that reveals the ways in which the raw material of the term Christian and the host of ideas and language historically associated with it can be fused to political theory. Because of that malleability, the term always resists collapse into a single definition. Though American Christians ceaselessly invoke the word, it has no essential normative meaning. Rather, Christianity is an example of what philosopher W.B. Galli calls essentially contested concepts. Such ideas are simultaneously central to human functioning and frustratingly hard to pin down. Like other essentially contested concepts, such as justice or art, the notion of Christianity lies near the primal level of the American imagination, and yet different people emphasize various elements, interpret it differently based upon particular social or political circumstances, or offer definitions that seek to establish the supremacy of their own uses. This book takes as a premise that talk about Christianity in America is essentially diverse and disputed, and yet it is foundational. The word Christian provides Americans with metaphysical justification for political belief. It allows them to root notions as diverse as human equality and white supremacy in supernal claims about human nature and divine will. But because there is no single definition of Christianity, there is also no single consensus about which of those values are most important or precisely how they are to be applied. The form of Christianity which Donald Trump pledged allegiance to has its roots in something historians have called Christian Republic.